Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Scorpio for August 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's on my blog, and also if you would love to learn astrology for personal or professional purposes, then check out my astrology apprenticeship program, and also check out my coach certification and online business course if you would love to be a coach as your profession. So what's going on in the month of August? We've got the eclipse, boom. We have massive amount of changes coming. You might have already started to see them by the time you're watching this, because we can often see and feel and experience eclipse changes well before the actual eclipses themselves, and we're still working along a continuum for an eclipse cycle that started at the beginning of 2017 and runs well into 2019. So we're mid-story here, so we'll talk about where those stories are taking place, but I do want to answer a question that has come up quite a bit since I posted the July horoscopes. I talked about how the last time the Aquarius-Leo eclipse cycle was occurring was in 2008 and 2009, so that you could think back to that period of time, see what areas of your life got restructured with energy shuffling around, and then you could expect that those same areas of your life would be what was coming into the forefront for changes in the present time. So I had many people concerned because the market crash also happened in that time in 2008. So they were wondering if I was saying that that was going to happen again. So I just want to clarify about that. I think that obviously something of that nature has to come from a combination of factors. However, I think one of the biggest determinants of the market crash was Pluto moving into Capricorn. Pluto is the atomic bomb. Capricorn is the sign that rules business, how business is done, and financial sectors. And Pluto moved into Capricorn with a boom, and it busted everything up. So I think that that was the bigger factor. So I don't think that a major occurrence on that level is set to occur with this eclipse cycle. However, something that was going on then with the eclipse cycle that was a sister, occurrence to the market crash is the restructuring of energy within large organizations and people's relationship to societal norms. Many people put their money in the stock market and the housing industry because people told them that that's what they should do. That was a good idea. And I'm not saying that it is or isn't or passing judgment on it. I'm just saying that many people found themselves in that situation because they were advised to do what it is that people do. This was a societal norm. It's very well accepted. And that's Aquarius. That's Aquarius energy, is the societal norms. And this Leo energy has to do with individual passions, individual creativity, individual purpose. And so I think many people after that experience started living life in a different way. And those types of things we are going to see coming up again, where people are questioning, how far into the mainstream should I really be? Do I need to jump out and do some of my own thing and follow my own course? Or for some people, they'll be doing their own thing and they'll be asking the question, how can I bring what I'm doing individually into where it can help more people? So I do think that aspect of what went on in that time period is definitely going to be coming back up, and maybe there'll be minor corrections, but I'm not saying that I'm thinking that a major thing like that is set to occur because of this eclipse cycle. Okay, so let's talk about these eclipses. I promised we would get into the nitty-gritty of where the eclipses, what houses, what fields of experience these eclipses are taking place for you as a Scorpio. Later on, I will go into some of the general implications of the Aquarius-Leo transits and the other things that are going on this month that are noteworthy for you. But first, we're going to talk about what houses, what fields of experience the solar and the lunar eclipses are occurring for Scorpios. Okay, so if you're an early Scorpio placement, that means your birthday is in the early part of the sign, like the first 10 days of the sign or so, you're an early degree placement. The middle and late degree placements, you're the rest of the Scorpio placements. So if you're watching for your rising sign, early degree is 0 to 9 degrees. You all will very likely experience the August 7th lunar eclipse culmination, ending, chapter closing in your 4th house. Your 4th house is your house of home and family. So many people will actually see a move from this, where your home is being closed out, or your relationship to your home, maybe you're moving out of it and renting it out to tenants. Maybe a family home is being sold or in some other way affected. Maybe you're leaving your family home. It could be that someone moves out of your house, an occupant leaves, or you could be the one that leaves, or you could sell real estate or something like that. Or you can have a notable event occur with a closing involving a family member. So you could have a falling out, a fight, or you could have the end of trouble that you had, you know, that maybe there's a culmination of a challenge and then you get past it in that chapter and your relationship is closed. But some sort of something ending involving family, a family member, a family situation, a home or housing situation. The fourth house also rules the emotional state of our childhood and how that emotional experience affects our lives years after that. So if you're inclined to do inner work, you might find that you have a breakthrough in your emotional space as far as genealogical patterning. And if you're not purposely going into that work, you might find yourself in a circumstance where it becomes very apparent to you that a pattern of what's going on around you has occurred before, and that it is actually kind of a theme in your life, and you might start to understand, wow, that I've actually been feeling that same way since childhood, even though maybe the phases and circumstances have changed. So something psychological could come up that could be very relevant. The rest of the Scorpio placements are going to likely experience this full moon, this drama, this eclipse, this closing out in the third house. Now, some of you middle degree placements, since it could be on the edge there, you could experience that fourth house energy that I talked about. But I think that most of you and the late degree placements are going to have this energy, this closing out, this ending, this culmination, this drama, whatever it happens to be, in the third house. Whenever we have an eclipse cycle that falls in a sign's third house, I have to have the discussion with you about my personal experience with the eclipse cycles moving through my third house, because this is very, very relevant, and for many people it's going to be very, very, very relevant to your personal experience. When I had an eclipse cycle moving through my third house, I had 3 things happen to my car. Cars are in the third house. That's why this is relevant. The third house rules transportation and the modes of transportation and mobility from transportation. It also rules communication and devices we use to communicate, and methods of communication, just like between interpersonal, relationships, how we communicate with others. So it puts pressure on your communication and your transportation sector. So the examples that I have from my personal experience are a snow-laden tree bough broke and smashed my windshield in my driveway. I went to open my window and it shattered. And then the third thing was someone was sleeping, someone that I knew actually. I lived in a small town, and was going 40 or 50 miles an hour and hit my parked at a light car while I was in it. Everybody's okay from it, but my car wasn't. It wasn't totaled, but it was away being worked on for quite a while. This is a very common thing when someone has a lunar eclipse in their third house. It doesn't mean that it's going to affect you that way. It doesn't mean you're going to get into an accident. It doesn't mean you're going to have a problem. But can be universally said that more pressure is being put on your communication and transportation sector and those modes of communication and transportation. So you have to be extra careful, or I'm putting out there for you to be extra careful. I've had it occur when I've talked about this as it's fallen into houses for other signs. I've had people share with me that I've helped them to not have a negative outcome because of this. One person posted that if my words weren't echoing in their mind, they wouldn't have stopped texting when they went to cross the street, because I said it's not a good time to be texting while you're moving, whether it's driving or walking or biking, whatever it is. I don't think that's a good idea anyway, and I'd love to see every single person stop doing that. But especially when you have this pressure around your communication and transportation sector. So they had said that because my words were echoing in their mind, they stopped texting and they would have gotten hit by a car. So this is really relevant. You're extra magnetic to these issues in these areas of your life. So more of you are going to have some issues come up with your car, your communication devices, and if you have to get new ones, if you can wait until later in September, like towards the end of September, that would be better. But if you have to get a new one, a device or car, then try to make it a temporary arrangement where it's like a fill-in before you get the new bigger, one. Or just go through the contract with a fine-tooth comb and get extra warranties, because we'll be in Mercury retrograde when this happens. So you're going to have it coming from two directions, the eclipse energies and Mercury being in retrograde, that there's pressure put in the sector of your life. There could be something notable that occurs, an ending, a completion, a fruition, an argument, an accomplishment, something notable with a sibling or an aunt or uncle or a cousin. Something that they're in the third house there. So something notable involving them or neighbor or something like that. Okay, so let's talk about where the energy is opening. For the early degree placements and most of the middle degree placements, you're going to be experiencing this new energy, this opening, this birth, this newness in triplicate. Eclipses tend to bring things in threes. Many things that we hear about people saying, oh, things come in threes, right? That's astrological. Just like birthday wishes are astrological. There are so many things that people have woven into the experience that are based in astrology that people have no idea. In any case, this things come in threes thing is an astrological thing because often transits will occur with this energy of triplicate. And eclipses have this energy of triplicate. So like a full moon eclipse carries 3 times the energy and potential as a regular full moon. The solar eclipses and new moon energies carry new openings 3 times 3. So this on August 21st, the solar eclipse in close to 29 degrees of Leo. It's 28 and some minutes. That's the second new moon in Leo. And so it's very, very, very powerful. And I'll talk about what it looks like in general for Leo new moon energy. But I want to talk specifically for Scorpio about this opening in your work sector. This is your career. This is your work. This is how you're out in the public view. This is your view of father and authority figures and experiences with them. You in the process of becoming your own authority figure and an authority figure for others. It rules relationships with dads. So something new opening up in that sector for you early degree and probably some of you middle degree placements. The late degree placements, well actually I'd say you middle degree placements are very likely to experience that too. Some of the later middle degree placements and then the later degree placements, you have some energy there, but it's pushed more into the 9th house. The 9th house of this new opening. And sometimes it could be 3 separate openings, right? We just talked about this triplicate. It could be one thing that takes the amount of energy of 3 things, or it could be 3 separate occurrences or openings. This is opening in your 9th house, which has to do with teaching, learning, speaking, editing, publishing, international travel or connections. It also has to do with religion or spirituality. So if you work with your church or with spiritual efforts, that could be how it shows up. The principle, the universal principle that energy is never created nor destroyed, it simply changes form, is very much apparent at this time of eclipses because something is being taken away. We often hear of it happening, like someone's parent passes away and then the same month they have a baby, like that's the kind of energy of eclipse where something major leaves, but then something just as major opens up. And sometimes they're literal deaths and births, but sometimes they're more figurative deaths and closings and, more figurative births and openings. So there's and this new moon is so beautifully aspected. It's just such a power time. So these are the things most on my mind for Scorpio placements. Now I want to talk about some of the general eclipse information and how that could affect you, and also some of the other aspects of the month that you'll definitely be noticing. So the eclipses definitely dominate the astrological scene for August for all signs, but there are other aspects that I want to talk about that will affect you as well, and this will affect all signs. Right from the beginning, we've got Jupiter in Libra square Pluto in Capricorn. This is the 3rd time that this has happened. The first time was November 24th of 2016. The second pass was March 30th of 2017. And here on August 4th, we have the final chapter. So this has been an ongoing saga having to do with the challenges of connecting with people in order to bring about something into the world. Jupiter in Libra has to do with relationships. Pluto in Capricorn has to do with business and things in the outer view, the public eye. And a square is a conflicted angle. So that means there's something to push through in order to get to the outcome. So the impetus lies in the aspect and also the blocks, so that's what brings the frustration, is that there's this pressure to join together and get something out into the world, but then the blocks and the challenges are also wrapped up in the transit. So there should be some resolution, some final conclusion here. One of the pieces is going to have to do with competition. Whenever we subscribe to the third dimensional belief in competition, there always creates this hamster wheel angst that you never really get out of. But one of my favorite teachers, Florence Scovel Shin, always says, or said, as I read her work, she's passed now a long time ago, there's no competition on the spiritual planes. And that's true. Infinite Spirit has a purpose for us that only we can fill. And you can take marketing data into consideration, you can take third dimensional realities into consideration, but ultimately what you do in this world has to do with you and Infinite Spirit and your purpose. So the more you can ease into that higher vibrational view of this, whatever you're merging together to do to bring out into the world, you're going to have a much better experience and much better outcomes. So even though I give you the dates of these transits, remember that you can always have the possibility to feel the energies in a manifestation before or after that date. Okay, so don't hang your hat too heavily on the dates that I give you. So, also important to note that I am giving you information about specific transits, as I always do, but you can get a more detailed write-up of the general transits that affect everyone when you sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. I send out a month early a written version of the summary of the energy of the month ahead, along with some highlights. If you have signed up for my newsletter already and you're not getting it, I send it out every month early, like clockwork, usually a month early. So if you're not getting it, it's probably going into social promotions, events folder or something like that. So check in there, spam, check in there and move it back into your inbox so that you can get them in a timely basis. Okay, so we talked about the eclipses at length as far as the individual effects for the signs, but we do have general effects for the eclipses as well. The first one is on August 7th. It's a full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees of Aquarius. We're moving along this continuum that started at the beginning of 2017 that has to do with a reshuffling of energy in the arenas of large organizations, humanitarian efforts, internet-based projects, teams, groups, friendships, circles, whatever kind of circles you find yourself in. That's all Aquarius. So some sort of reshuffling of energy. Some people will be focusing more in those realms, and some people will be focusing more on their own individual desires against the societal norms, which we'll talk about when we get over to the solar eclipse for later in the month. But this lunar eclipse is coming packing a lot of punch because the event also opposes Mars, which increases the likelihood of some sort of conflicted ending or a conflicted completion. Full moon eclipses tend to bring lots of drama, lots of emotion, and some sort of culmination, an ending or something coming to fruition. But with that aspect with Mars, it could be a conflicted ending. There's also a simultaneous nice aspect with Saturn that could bring very positive and strong foundation for present and future security. And there's an additional trine with Jupiter. Anything having to do with a wonderful aspect with Jupiter always is going to bring more enthusiasm, more hope, more faith, and expanded outcomes. So we've got some sweet aspects on the 10th and 11th and 12th. Then on the 12th and 13th, depending on which time zone you're in, Mercury is going to go into retrograde, and that will be at 11 degrees of Virgo. Mercury goes retrograde 3 or 4 times a year. So we really spend half of our lives in one part of the retrograde transit, either the shadow period that occurs before or the shadow period that occurs after or the actual retrograde. You can look at my video called Mercury Retrograde if you do a search for Annie Botticelli, Mercury Retrograde. I talk about the do's and don'ts and the understandings that it's important to carry. But basically, a lot of pressure is put on weak links that already exist with communication devices, mobility, transportation devices. So any weak links that are there are going to be turned up, so old things that were swept under the rug as far as communication often just blow right out to be dealt with. And often things, people, ideas from the past roll in now for reconsideration. It's not always the best time to make the long-term decision if you can help it. So even though these eclipses and retrograde are going to bring some things right into the forefront, if you can wait until later into September, like at least mid to end September, to really commit to a longer term situation, that would be better because you're not going to have all the information. Okay, so we've got a nice aspect with the Sun and Saturn on August 13th, where your desires receive enthusiastic support. The 15th, we've got, and actually there's another aspect with Venus on the 24th. So there are two challenging aspects with Venus this month, the 15th and the 24th, that are going to bring, some tension, either with self-esteem, aesthetics, appearance, romance, your relationships in general of any kind, or money. So there's pressure put on Venus this month, and you'll see that come up in little or big ways. Then we have a nice aspect on August 20th with the Sun trining Uranus. So sometimes sudden insights and exhilarating awarenesses or experiences could come in with that. On the 21st, we've got this very powerful new moon solar eclipse at almost 29 degrees of Leo. So this is the second new moon in Leo that we have, which adds a lot of power. Also, new moon solar eclipses are like new openings in triplicate, just as full moons are closings, endings, drama, conclusions, 3 times as powerful as a regular full moon. The new moon eclipses have the opening energies and the new energies 3 times that of a regular new moon. And this is a beautiful new moon. We've got a beautiful aspect with Uranus, which brings, more surprises, happy surprises. Then we have a beautiful aspect with Saturn, which brings, again, this long-term stable factor, which seems to be a theme this month, like certain things starting to click in for future security. And so when you have a solar eclipse, it's an opening. And when you have a solar eclipse in Leo, it has to do with openings in creativity. So anything having to do with children. But for some people, their creative projects are their children. So whether you're conceiving a child or conceiving a creative idea, that process of conception to pregnancy to birth to child or project rearing is all dominated by Leo. So there's going to be lots of new openings there. And for people who already have children, new experiences and, dimensions of parenting. There's also energy associated with athleticism, acting, modeling, directing, fun hobbies, true love. Many people are going to enter new dimensions of romance with this aspect, which is really exciting. So we've got that on the 21st, and on the 22nd, we have Mars in Leo trining Saturn and Sag. And again, this is a nice boost where action and outcomes blend beautifully. We've got a nice aspect on August 23rd to the 24th with Venus and Chiron, which shows that when we do emotional inner work, in those places where we're wounded, it brings positive gains. On the 24th, so simultaneously with this nice aspect with Chiron, we have a square with Uranus. I alluded to this earlier when I talked about the difficult aspect with Venus on the 15th. When Venus squares Uranus, the bringer of change in a feisty expression in Aries, makes an uncomfortable angle to love, money, and aesthetics. So there's many ways that can look, So definitely having the Venus in Cancer is going to promise emotional jostling from this unpredictable Uranus energy. August 25th, Saturn goes direct at 21 degrees of Sag. This officially ends the break that we've had as Saturn was in retrograde. Saturn is a chop buster. That's what I always call Saturn. Saturn wants discipline. It's a taskmaster, and it wants organization, and it wants hard work. And that type of energy doesn't blend well with Sagittarius, the sign that it's in, because Sag is all about free flowing and, not being consistent and all the things that we love about Sagittarius don't mix well with the energy of Saturn. So we've had a break from Saturn kind of forcing us to take these big Sag ideals and dreams and do the hard work, consistent work for bringing those dreams down into the third dimension. We've had a little break from that, but now the break is over. So for the rest of the year, we're going to have to get our nose back to the grindstone and take the daily steps to bringing the dreams into fruition. So when Saturn moves through Sag, it's also a serious faith tester, you know, so we've got the rest of the year for Saturn to sort of weigh heavy on faith, but the more you can stay connected to faith throughout this Saturn transit, the better it will be. And then we end off with a nice aspect with the Sun and Mercury, but that can also mean some powerful criticism, you know, the same aspects that can be something positive, like some bright news, you know, when the Sun and Mercury join together, they enhance each other's qualities. There could be some powerful news that comes in, but Virgo is also really critical. So there could be some harsh criticism that comes in too. So just keep your head up with that. So if you would love to have astrology, to learn astrology in a visceral way, a way that helps you to blend more naturally with the planetary rhythms, then maybe you'll love to take my astrology apprenticeship program. You can see more about it on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Click on work with me. Whether you want to use astrology for your own personal developments or to help your friends and family and yourself to understand karmic patterns, understand what your highest expression is in this lifetime and how you overcome the karmic patterns to step into that, even if you want to do it professionally, then check out my astrology apprenticeship program. If you'd like to be a coach, a wellness coach, a business coach, a spiritual coach of any kind, helping people to reach their goals, then maybe you will love my coach course, which is also enrolling. And that's also combined with my online business course so that you can help create a presence online and develop your coaching business for an online basis. So check that out, anniehelpsyou.com. Also check out my husband B.R. Newman's new tarot reports for each sign. You can look him up, B.R. Newman, Neumann. IamHelios.com is his website. So you can see what he says about your sign as far as the tarot report, and that supplements what I've just shared with you. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.